I'm straight ahead of you, about 50 feet. Can you see me? The device in your hand is creating an acoustic corridor. So that we can talk. Do you understand?
Who are you?
Oh, I'm just a passerby. I was looking for a bookshop. How do you think I'm doing?
This isn't a bookshop.
No, this is a war. A very old one going by the mix of technology. Which war is this? I get them all muddled up.
Just the war.
Where am I? What planet is this?
I don't understand.
Oh, well, neither do I. I try never to understand. It's called an open mind. Now, you have got to make a choice.
Choice.
Yes, you have got to decide that you're going to live. Survival is just a choice. Choose it now.
If I move, they'll get me.
I told you, you have one chance in 1,000. And one is all you ever need. What's your name? Come on! Faith in the future! Introduce yourself! Tell me the name of the boy who isn't going to die today!
Davros. My name is Davros. Hello? Are you still there? Please, you've got to help me. You said I could survive. You said you'd help me. Help me!
What's this episode called? Magicians Apprentice.
How the fuck did we start music?
You have it backwards in the document, by the way.
I'm sorry? Okay, I don't care.
You wrote
I
which
get
is familiar
no,
as
dude,
the first
dude,
episode.
because all of the episode titles of this season are mirrored. I get them back to front all the fucking time.
Your brain is a
Like,
mirror.
like,
right?
can you tell me which one is which? Under the flood or before the flood? Sorry, under the
Well,
lake
surely
or before the lake?
flood.
No,
I assume before the lake is first.
Nope. Nope. It goes under the lake and then before the flood.
Oh, well, okay. Well, you said before
Is
the lake.
it the Zygon invasion first or the Zygon inversion first?
Invasion, then inversion.
Is it the girl who... Sorry, is it the woman who lived first or is it the girl who died first?
Girl who died, woman who lived.
Okay, you're actually quite good at this. Is it hell bent first? Or is it heaven
fuck.
sent? Which one is which?
Heaven sent first, hell bent second.
Okay, you got it.
What a guess. That was difficult.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't like these titles.
I don't like how every episode was a two-parter. It drove me insane. Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined with...
Good start. Burping into our listeners' ears on the first podcast.
Hey man, we're the top listen to podcasts for a reason, you know.
Yes, hello, I am Scott.
Hello, Scott, and we are covering this week Peter Capaldi's era. We left off in the month of September with Pyramids of Mars,
God, we
revisiting that story, which I don't think either of us were too keen on. Both rewatching it and recontextualizing it with the modern sequel to it, I guess,
Yeah,
with
we
the final to series one.
We enjoyed it better than the...
Sure.
Yes. Whatever that episode was called.
Empire of Death.
Yes. And I guess this is also a sequel to a classic Tom Baker story in the 70s with Sarah Jane Smith and Tom Baker. So that's interesting. Although this is less of a sequel, it's more of a...
homage,
I
sort
guess.
of, like parallel sort of themes, you know. But yeah, we are covering The Witch's Familiar and The Magician's Apprentice in these next 2 weeks.
The other way around? You just told me
Sorry,
off for
I'm reading your fucking notes. I'm reading your fucking notes, and I forgot that you wrote them the wrong way around. So
it's confusing, isn't it?
It is when you write them wrong. We're covering The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar in these next 2 weeks. And we're covering The Magician's Familiar and The Witch's Apprentice, whatever the fuck you want to call them, these next 2 weeks. And revisiting them. This was a story that you were not too hot on when it first aired. We've talked about this briefly. It's come up in discussions multiple times during our dives in the podcast, which is why we were just deciding to cover it now, because we're like, hey, let's actually revisit this story and see which one of us is right. That's how we determine everything. Because I remember liking this episode, this story when it first came out. I wasn't super hot on this series as a whole.
Yeah.
I think most episodes being a 2-parter really hampered the pacing so much, especially for me when I was watching this as a teenager. It drove me up the fucking wall. But there's some banger episodes in this. Is this one of them? It's not the worst ones. It's far from the worst of them. But we will dive into all of that very shortly. Before we get there, let's set the scene to when this episode first aired, which was on the 19th of September 2015. a Saturday, and a very upsetting 9 years, 1 month and 6 days ago. We're just coming off the 9-year anniversary to this story. Isn't that insane? This was during a time when Barack Obama was president. He was coming to the end of his second term as president. And Mr. David Cameron was the prime minister, whose tenure would also be coming to an end soon. With the whole Brexit ordeal in 2016. So that's pretty cool.
Actually, I say hurrah, but it actually got worse after David Cameron.
It made things a lot worse, yeah. So... things got steadily worse for a number of years there.
Oh,
God. Could you guess? I have the UK and the US. They are 2 different movies for what is currently winning at the box office. The UK one you might get because it's a more well-known movie. The US one, I have never seen in my life.
Okay, so we're talking about 2015, just to put it into my mindset. Jurassic World, the year of Jurassic World, the year of Age of Ultron, the year of Ant-Man, the year of The Force Awakens. Big year of movies. Like, one of those years where like every movie was a big franchise returning after many years away. September,
it was a big year. It was a big year of movies. I will say you haven't said it yet.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. September. We're looking for a quieter movie, something that's maybe a little less well known than the movies I just mentioned. I would imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely not as big a budget.
Yeah, I presume it's family orientated. Like, is it animated or?
It's number 1 in the UK because it is also set in the UK. It is a British movie.
Ooh. Is it The Kingsman? Could it be The Kingsman?
It is not The Kingsman. Okay. But you are in the correct kind of ballpark in the terms of people wearing suits.
People wearing... Is it Spectre? Is that the 2015 one or...
It is not Spectre.
Fuck.
That doesn't come out till November.
Ah, fuck. People wearing suits. That really threw me off.
I can give you some more details if you would like. It's a biographical drama.
Biographical drama where people wear suits. Is it just one person wearing a suit or...
It's one person.
Oh, is it Legend? It's
people.
Legend.
It's Legend.
Okay,
yes,
I've seen that. Because this was the year I first got my Cineworld Unlimited card, and I basically saw most major movies of the year, and I don't remember Legend too well. I don't think I enjoyed it, but
interesting.
maybe if I go back to it. And... Something about the crime genre doesn't really appeal to me. I'm not sure why. I like The Sopranos.
Because you're a
and
square.
Breaking Bad.
You're a square. I remember enjoying this movie. Of course, it stars Tom Hardy playing the Cray twins, isn't it? That he's playing? Yeah, the Cray twins he is playing. I remember enjoying it quite a bit. Apparently, Christopher Eccleston is in this movie, so there's your Doctor Who connection.
Yes, I remember that,
if you don't know what Legend is a 2015 biographical drama written and directed by Brian Hedgeland, adapted by John Pearson's book The Profession of Violence, The Ryan Falls of the Cray Twins. The film follows the Cray Twins' career and relationship together through their life imprisonment in 1969. Nice. It was number one at the box office for 1 week in the UK.
Okay.
Before being taken over by another movie, but it managed to kick straight out of Compton, out of the cinemas, out of the number one spot.
A movie I didn't see, but the memes around the time with Straight Outta Compton.
It's a good movie. I remember enjoying it. Now, we turn our eye across the pond to the United States. Now, this one is hard. It is like Legend, only number one for a week.
Okay.
It is definitely a smaller budget. It is not a movie I expect you to have seen. It is not a movie I even had heard of before.
Okay.
I don't really know how to describe it. I'm going to give you the tagline to the movie: Trust one, fear the other. It's a romantic thriller drama.
Ooh. I think I'm going to need a bit more than this.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to get it, because honestly, I don't think I would be able to get it, but it's a movie called The Perfect Guy.
Okay, I've never heard about that movie in my life.
Yeah,
okay.
The Perfect Guy is a 2015 American romantic thriller drama directed by David M. Rosenthal, produced by Tommy Oliver, and written by Alan B. McElroy and Tiger Williams, and stars Sana Lathan, Morris Chestnut, and Michael Ealy.
Who are these
Ealy and
people?
Lathan also served as executive producers on the film. The film centers on a single woman who falls in love with a man who harbors an obsession after she breaks up with him. The Perfect Guy was released in North America on 9/11.
Yeah.
And garnered negative reviews from the critics. So you could say it was a 9/11 of cinema, praising the filmmaking and performances, but criticized the script for being underwritten and lacking in thriller moments. It was a box office success, grossing $60 million on a $12 million budget. So there you go.
Very decent. It's if you have a bad movie that makes that much of a profit, like 5 times the profit.
It's
not
kind
bad.
of the Blumhouse method,
Yes.
Release something cheap, make its profit back in a weekend, and move on with your life.
Oh yes, the Blumhouse method is just incredible. Released 20 movies with a combined budget of $100 million, maximum profits. Basically, that's the best method you could have for, especially horror. It's just a genre of cheap shit.
Yeah, it's a messy genre, horror, like sci-fi as well. Like, it's so easy to be lazy and throw out shit with those genres specifically. But when those genres are done well, I think they're the best genres. I love horror, I love sci-fi. But that is all I've got for On This Day.
Okay.
The Americans were watching a weird movie, and the British were watching a British movie. And with that, have you got anything about the behind the scenes?
Not
for
really,
this
but
episode?
we do have 2 prequel episodes, shorts, that are associated with this episode of Doctor Who. One of them is called The Doctor's Meditation. That was it was released in cinemas, actually, in 3D, I guess, because for some weird reason, America, Russia, and a couple of other countries got a 3D release of the Series 8 final for some reason. We didn't get it, so that episode got converted into 3D for some reason. I don't understand why.
Interesting.
But attached to those 2 episodes was the short, the doctor's meditation. I forgot the name of it already. It was so... That's how bland it is. We just watched it just before we started this recording. What do you think of it?
It's fine. It's it's absolutely nothing. It reminds me almost of do you remember the Amy and Rory YouTube things that we watched?
Oh yeah,
yes.
Are you
like the Ood on the Loo?
Yeah, the Pond Life, the 5-day mini series.
Yeah, where it's kind of like, yeah, it's fine. This is some fun extra stuff. It's cool that I can sit and watch this, but it's not necessary viewing for the episode at all. You know, it's just an extra bit of sprinkles on top.
Yeah, if anything, it ruins the episode itself because it's so tonally different to how this episode of Doctor Who starts. But you're just, if you watch them both back to back, the Doctor's. The Doctor's meditation.
What's he doing? What's he trying to do in the...
Oh, he's trying to dig a big well, I guess. That's all he really does.
Yeah. The Doctor's big well, they should have called it.
The Doctor's like, hey, I need some water to meditate, I guess, and the water here isn't good enough, so let's do a big well. And his friends make a big well for him, which is very interesting. I really liked... No, I didn't.
It's fine. It's like harmless comedy, you know.
Yeah.
It's super safe, light-hearted comedy featuring, you know, Capaldi's Doctor and stuff. So it's whatever.
And you can tell there's like Murray Gold did not touch this because it's all reused music, and it's all reused music that's just used inappropriately. Like at the very end, they reuse Amy's theme for some reason. It's just, why is this here?
But to be fair, are you gonna waste Murray Gold's time with this 10-minute short? You know,
True.
Keep that budget low. Just plug in something you've got in the hard drive.
I guess we did spend a weekend or maybe 3 days to shoot this. It's not too bad, but it's just the only way to watch it legally streaming, by the way, is on Facebook of all places. It's not on YouTube. It's not on BBC iPlayer, but it is on Facebook. So
it's the best streaming platform around. You know, it's the best one.
Remember when Mark Zuckerberg actually tried to make Facebook a streaming service? They had episodes of Buffy on there. I think Jennifer Aniston had a series on there for some reason. Insane, weird. I don't understand.
I mostly remember when they tried to make Let's Plays big on Facebook, and they introduced Facebook gaming and live streaming to compete with Twitch and stuff that on. But who's using Facebook this way? I don't understand.
Fucking Netflix is also tried to get into the gaming industry. They built a gaming studio, and they've released games like Grand Theft Auto onto their service. And just 2 days ago, after 2 years, they announced, it's not really making us much money. We're just going to close it. All that money wasted because Netflix just wanted to expand into the gaming industry for no reason, really.
It's because it's just the business model Netflix has, because they need to be turning profits all the time. Yeah. And they've kind of done everything you can do with streaming.
Yeah,
you know, it's reinventing the wheel again. So it's like, okay, well, what other market can we go into? You know, I'm surprised they haven't tried music and podcasts yet.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I'm sure that's just round the corner.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even Spotify are just expanding as well. They've recently done audiobooks, which makes more sense because you're already there for music. Might as well be there for audiobooks and podcasts as well. So.
But you can also watch videos on the Spotify app, like this podcast, which is available in video form on Spotify.
Is it?
It is. It is indeed.
Did I know this?
Yeah, probably. Recently I've started doing it. Before I was just doing audio for Spotify, but they finally updated the So to get things on Spotify is really convoluted, and when you're doing a podcast, it's very convoluted as well because you have to go through a third party that then distributes it. And the distributor that we use finally like updated their site or something like that. So when I upload a video, it doesn't take a lifetime to upload. It actually uploads at a regular speed. So I was like, okay, cool. I can stick videos on Spotify now. So there you go. Nice. If you're watching this or listening to this somewhere and you don't want to log into YouTube for whatever reason, you can also see us on Spotify.
So do people just... I don't understand watching podcasts on your phone. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't...
I can understand putting it on your TV and then doing like housework while it's on your TV, and you can occasionally glance to see.
You can get Spotify on your TV.
Yeah, that too, but.
But yeah, no, I don't. People gonna do what people gonna do.
If you're on your TV, you already get YouTube. Just watch us on YouTube. But. Whatever gets us more money. Because we're rolling in the money, and whatever gets us more money.
We are the number one podcast. We are the number one podcast out of all of them. They did a survey. We're the number one.
So a second prequel short is Series 9 Prologue, and I think Stephen Moffat really spent nights just debating what that title is called, because that is a clever title. Series 9 Prologue. Really creative title. And it's just the Doctor having a little chat with a Sisterhood of Karn, which I think is a deleted scene from the actual episode.
It feels like
it's okay. It's okay.
Again, it's completely fine. You can miss it and miss absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
From the episode, you can watch it and gain absolutely nothing, other than that was cool. That was. It's 2 minutes.
It is weird, but it's included on BBC iPlayer. Like I think it's the only prequel short, and Doctor Who has done a lot of prequel shorts like this, especially during the Moffat era, where it's like every series opener had a prequel short basically. It is weird that it's the only one on there, because it's not that essential. You're not missing anything, really.
Legit. It's also weird they didn't just plug it into the episode like after the fact, but, whatever, I guess.
Strange times, but are you ready to jump into whatever this episode is called? The Magicians Apprentice.
The Magician's Witch. Yes, I am ready to jump in to the episode and break it down and see what it's all about. It's been a minute since I actually watched this, so I'm kind of excited to go through it again, because maybe it's bad.
Yeah, we just took a really long hiatus. I think it's our longest time without doing the podcast, so
quite possibly, yeah.
It's just trying to pick pieces back up and just find out where we are, because it's been a while since I wrote these notes out, especially. Like, there's so many notes in here that I'm just basically finding for the first time. Even though I wrote them, I just don't remember writing them.
I don't even remember if I like Doctor Who. It's been that long. I don't know what this show's about.
No, we don't. We hate Doctor Who.
Oh, got you.
Throw up, don't you? Pick a local. According to you, this is where the Doctor is.
Okay, how do we find him? How do we know what we're looking for?
Anachronisms. The slightest, tiniest anachronisms.
Dude, what is that? You said you wanted an axe fight. Oh, come on. A few hundred years, that'll be really funny.
Okay, we open up the episode to war. and we see a biplane fly over ahead of this mud as some people run past it. They're dressed up in like a military outfit, but they fire a bow and arrow at this plane that fires like lasers or something, and it's this weird mishmash of technology going on, which I think is pretty cool. It's a fun little thing, you know.
Nice use of the word thing there. I didn't expect the word thing. This is, of course, a reference to Genesis of the Daleks, where the Doctor, Harry, and Sarah Jane are trying to figure out where the fuck they are. And the Doctor's like, that's why I think this war's been going on for a very long time. They've probably started out with the most modern equipment, but no longer have the resources. They had to make do. And then Harry Sullivan says, at this rate, we're going to finish off with bows and arrows. So that's why they're using bows and arrows there. It's a direct reference to Genesis of the Daleks. And this is where I was annoyed with the first time I watched this, because previous to this episode being released, the fucking leaks were the opening of the series is basically going to be Genesis of the Daleks, but with baby Davros. You know, it's going to be the Doctor deciding not to save baby Davros's life. It became a meme, and the sound of it was fucking terrible. I was so annoyed just by the sound of the leaks, because why would you go back and basically copy one of the most iconic episodes of all time? That's going to be something that I thought of for a long time before this episode, and I hated the idea of it. I thought Moffat was out of his fucking mind to go back to this premise, basically, like, baby Davros's life being saved by the Doctor. What the fuck are you doing, Moffat? You've completely run out of ideas. Maybe it's time you need to go. And yeah, that was my initial thoughts. This time I'm more on board with what he's doing, but we'll obviously have to talk about that more later on. So
I never saw these leaks.
Yeah.
When this aired, I was 15 when this episode aired, and unlike most people, I was a staunch defender of Moffat. I loved his writing. I had issues with some of his plot lines, especially with the previous series. I really wasn't a huge fan of Series 8, but I always have a soft spot for him. I'm always willing to give Moffat the benefit of the doubt. I never saw these leaks coming into it, and when I first watched this episode, I remember just being like, holy shit, this is incredible. I had never seen Genesis of the Daleks by this point either, so this really was my first introduction to this core idea that gets presented both in Genesis and this, and I thought it was fucking spectacular, which it could be a reason why Moffat would want to revisit this story from Genesis and, you know, kind of reimagine parts of it, because you're bringing it to a new audience.
Yes.
People, you know, kids like me who had never seen it, getting to experience that sort of concept and drama in a modern style.
So I will say, not to spoil our discussion later on, I will say the subtext of how he changes the subtext of the conflict is interesting. I really like it this time. It's just the first viewing, I was completely turned off because, you know, it was a premise that was mocked for a very long time before the episode came out. So the idea of it being real and the idea of the leaks being real was just so disappointing. I was just completely thrown off, to be honest.
It's like some of the leaks that we had from like the 60th and Series 1 and stuff like that. We were like, no, like Biogeneration, when that got leaked. We were like, no way is that real. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, we both really hated the idea of Biogeneration when it got leaked. But when it
we found
happened,
it okay in practice.
It's the concept that turned out to be okay, but not the execution, I would say. Whereas before, I think before we both thought the concept and execution was just rubbish.
Yeah. I have no real problem with Biogeneration. I just don't know why it happened, because it didn't.
Yeah. It doesn't
matter in any way.
do anything
Yeah.
to the narrative in an interesting way. It doesn't change
Yeah.
anything. Like, the Doctor's still the Doctor. If he had just done a normal regeneration, he'd be exactly the same. I don't understand it.
It is what it is. But these soldiers spot a little boy running off through this war field, this muddy field that they're in, and they chase after him, being like, "Hey, kids, we gotta get you back. Like, you're in the middle of a war zone. This is a super dangerous place for you to be at." One of the guys makes a remark of clam drones being 2 miles away. Again, another reference to Genesis of the Daleks. You should go back and watch those 3 episodes, 4 episodes,
yeah.
3 episodes. It was a long series, but you should go back and watch those after you finish this, of course, because we have covered Genesis of the Daleks, and one of the episodes was even called something to do with Silence of the
Clams, yes. And you can tell that's the middle episode because that's where all the filler of Classic Who is.
Yes.
So, of course, it's going to be the clam part of the Genesis of the Daleks, which was the worst part of Genesis of the Daleks.
It
Holy shit.
really was. I forgot there was even really clams involved in that storyline. But the soldier goes, he's like, "Hey, okay, just stay where you are, kid. I'm just going to do a quick scan around because we've got some movement off the ground here because we see the ground kind of like wave and shake." And he's like, "Maybe there's hand mines. Do you know what hand mines are? Have you ever seen a hand mine?" And the kid nods and he's like, "Oh, cool. Where did you see a hand mine?" And he just kind of looks down. We see that there is a hand coming out of the mud and wrapping itself around the ankle of this soldier. Terrifying visual.
Yeah.
I think the hand mines are so fucking scary. They're so creepy looking and weird. And the guy's like, "Hey, it's okay. It's going to be completely fine." But of course, he gets sucked in under the mud straight away and dies. And then hundreds of hands rise out of the mud. Excellent tension building. Immediately, you know the stakes. There's a creepy monster involved. There's a little kid. You're on the edge of your seat. What a way to open the episode, you know?
And of course, going back to mines, of course, Moffat would later go on back to Genesis of the Daleks 9 years later with Boom.
Oh yeah, with the Boom.
Yeah, so he keeps going back to Genesis of the Daleks in new ways. I think Boom is a very interesting way to go
Boom's
back
very
to
good,
Genesis.
I think. Yeah, Boom
Definitely
is really
the best
good.
of the series. I like to imagine this was a typo. So Moffat just wrote down, meant to write down landmines, but one day, he's talking to the special effects people, the design people, and they're like, "Yeah, Stephen, we got the concept of what the hand mines would look like. You want to have a look?" And Stephen's like, "Oh, what? Hand mines?" And he goes back to his script and he's like, "Oh fuck. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course I'll take a look at it." I like to imagine it's just a typo, but he's too scared to admit.
The hand mines themselves they just look like a regular hand, but they have an eyeball in the middle, which kind of makes me wonder, like, how are you grabbing something? If you've got an eye in the middle, you're like, ow!
Yeah, it makes me think of Pan's Labyrinth, which is a movie I've not seen.
Oh yeah,
but of course it's iconic
it's very good.
imagery.
Yeah,
Too
the
scary.
guy. It's a very, very good movie. But why aren't they speaking English though? I can't understand what's going on.
The sound design, especially here, the bones cracking, the mud sliming.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And then we get a break from the tension. Our heroes arrived. Sonic Screwdriver lands at the feet of this kid. This bit always kind of rubs me the wrong way because I fucking hate that it's Matt Smith Sonic. It's such a little nitpick because I guess it's a Sonic Screwdriver the Doctor's not getting back, so he doesn't want to give away his good ones. It's just an older model, but it being Matt Smith, and throughout all of Series 8 as well, Capaldi was just using Matt Smith's Sonic Screwdriver. He never had his own one, and it little things like that. I was like, just have your own personality, get your own stuff,
I'll be honest, that's not something I picked up on it. The Sonic Screwdriver design is something I just don't really give a shit for unless it's
Wow.
so drastically different, like if it starts to look like a remote control from Click or something else instead. That
But
would
what
never
if it's
happen.
like a pair of sunglasses? What if it's instead a pair of sunglasses?
Yeah, I guess, is this the debut episode of the Sonic
Yes,
sunglasses?
it is indeed.
Yes.
Sonic shades.
Which
I love them.
I used to really hate the idea of Sonic sunglasses, but of course Peter Capaldi wanted to wear them as a way of saying, hey, kids can't really afford, £30 for a Sonic screwdriver or more. So, sunglasses, that's something you get from a drugstore for like £1. That's so much better for a kid to use if they don't have enough money. So when they're in the playground playing Doctor Who, they can just use sunglasses or just normal glasses. My glasses are Sonic glasses.
That's kind of sweet. I never thought of it like that before. But the doctor goes on to explain to the kid, like, hey, you have a choice here. You have to choose to survive. You gotta listen to me. You're gonna get out of this. Everything's gonna be okay. I'm gonna save you. Tell me your name. What's your name, kid? And the kid says, hey, my name's Davros. And, Capaldi's like, oh, fuck. And then we go into the intro credits. It's pretty great. It's got some convolutedness to it,
Yes.
Like, is Davros that rare of a name that there's only one kid on the entire planet called Davros? But, I think the idea of it is solid enough that you shouldn't really be thinking about stuff like that. It's like if that kid went, oh, it's me, Hitler. Fuck.
This is basically the premise of would you go back in
Would you
time
kill
and
baby
save-
Hitler?
The whole baby Hitler debate, which I presume is something that what originated before Genesis of the Daleks, right?
Yeah, I assume it's been a moral question since Hitler died.
Yes.
It's like, hey, if you could go back and kill Hitler, would you do it? It's one of my favorite. I don't know if it's real. I think it's real. Back in the 2016 presidential election,
Good year.
They posed that question to various politicians, and Jeb Bush was like, hell yeah, I'd go back and kill baby Hitler. You can't. Excellent answer.
Of course, we get a new function of the Sonic screwdriver here as well, where it's an acoustic corridor. The Sonic screwdriver creates an acoustic corridor, which, fine, whatever, I don't care.
It sounds more reasonable to me than most things that the Sonic screwdriver does, particularly because this is a Sonic screwdriver and it's dealing with acoustics. So it kind of fits. It kind of fits quite nicely.
Maybe he uses his Sonic sunglasses on his guitar as well. Maybe his guitar is a Sonic guitar.
Could be. Yeah.
That's why the acoustics of a guitar is so good as well.
Yeah. But when he says the kid is Davros, or when the Davros says that he's the kid, we push into the Doctor's face and go into the intro credits, which are fine. I like the opening graphics are fine enough. I've grown to like the weird clock and everything. I wasn't super hot on it. The song is so high pitched though. It's so high pitched. It doesn't need to be. It's
every Murray Gold theme song from the original his original tenure on the show got worse and worse. Like the original 2005 opening was great, and when he added drums in series 4, the drums added so much to it. I mean, every intro after that got worse. Like, oh, lightning crashes now for some reason.
Yeah. You just gotta keep adding, just keep making it more complex as you go on. But we come out of the credits and are suddenly watching a different show as we see a snake man go into Mos Eisley.
Yeah,
and
we get out of the opening credits to a star wipe from Star Wars.
Yeah,
to let you know this is fucking Star Wars.
We're Star Wars and up here. It's not the first time Doctor Who has dipped its toe into Star Wars territory. It's not the first time we've been into a Mos Eisley bar in Doctor Who either. There's some fun little characters hidden around this bar. You know, there's like an ood and everything. There's a guy with like a Chinese hat on and like two faces. I don't really know what he's all about, but he gets like a whole shot to himself. So, like, all right. But this snake dude, I'm not a huge fan of his purpose in this script. You know, he's going around looking for the Doctor, saying that, somebody wants to speak with the Doctor. Where is the Doctor? Got to go find the Doctor. Nobody can really give him any answers. And we see him bounce around in various locations. Like, he goes to the Shadow Proclamation.
Yeah, the Shadow Proclamation is back for the first time since 2008. And they were
very cool.
They were so underused in 2008 as well. So bringing this actress back, I don't even know her name. I don't even know the character's name. I don't have any interest in this fucking character. She's just back.
She's got big hair. She has really big hair in this episode. I don't know if she had big hair when she first came in.
It does kind of start to make the universe feel smaller in some ways, because he also goes to the Sisterhood of Karn, and the Doctor's only been on Karn in the brain of Morbius in the 70s, and also Paul McGann regenerated there. The Doctor's only been there on screen twice, so why would I don't understand bringing back these locations when we're so underused. It's not like they're just places the Doctor frequents all the time. It's really strange.
It's kind of hard because the Doctor doesn't really frequent anywhere besides Earth, and you don't want to have Snake Guy on Earth because he's a very extraterrestrial looking dude, you know, and you kind of want to go around it. It's also the problem of a small universe is always hard to like grapple. And Star Wars has a similar problem. So does Star Trek. So does most sci-fi properties, really. Because you have a big universe, so you want to explore and have lots of different characters and stuff, but you still want it to feel connected to the stuff that came before it. So you have to include things from before, even if it doesn't quite fit into the scope or the scale of things, because otherwise it's like, this is just a separate show. This is just a separate thing, you know? But it's fine. It's whatever.
And also the Shadow Proclamation coming back. It's always so weird when Moffat goes back to the Russell T Davies era stuff. Like
it is, yeah, it is strange because their styles are so different. But I kind of like it. I like when Ood show up and stuff like that. I'm like, oh wow, what a throwback. But I like when he's with the Sisterhood of Karn, or he's on the planet Karn. I don't remember what they're called. And he does a little fucking dance. You know, they're like, just give us the message, and he's like, yeah, well, what if I fucking did this? How about that? And they're like, oh, your powers don't work here. Like, what the fuck was he trying to do? What does this do?
I don't know. The snake guy isn't too bad. It's a fun design. The original design was apparently more snake-like than he is in this episode, and they tried to minimalize it, so the reveal of him being a snake is a big surprise. Is he related to the snake guy who started UNIT?
Yeah, that's true. There is multiple Snake Men in Doctor Who now, and they're different. There's different Snake Men in Doctor Who, which is an interesting idea. That for whatever reason, evolution really likes snakes. They show up across the universe in different forms.
I just remembered Flux existed, and I don't like that.
Good show. Good show.
I'm thinking of going back to Flux, because every day that passes, I feel more and more Flux memories escaping from my head.
Oh, you should. It's worth a reevaluate. I think I've seen it like 4 times now. You can watch it in an afternoon, in an evening. Like
sounds like a good use of time.
It's a surprisingly easy binge, as long as you Ignore all the thousands of plot holes that reside within it. But Snake Man delivers his message, and his message is Davros remembers. Davros wants to speak with him again. Davros knows what he did. And, they're going to speak one last time before Davros dies or the Doctor dies or whoever the fuck dies. And then the Snake Man goes on his merry way. And we find out that the Doctor was listening from behind a rock the entire time. Isn't that fun?
And, this is something that also bothered me back in the day, the retconning of Davros and the Doctor's history together, to all of a sudden be like, yeah, they have more of a history together, and also Davros just suddenly remembers, oh yeah, that's the guy who saved my fucking life, just out of nowhere.
See, it's interesting, because maybe it takes Davros this long to piece together that was the Doctor.
Yeah.
Because the Doctor's face changes all the time.
Yeah, and also when he doesn't always use the sonic screwdriver, and also the sonic screwdriver looks different all the time. But for him to suddenly be like, oh yeah, this is the Doctor, I've just suddenly put two and two together after all this time.
You gotta figure it out at some point, He's had a lot on his plate. Do you know how many times the Daleks have come back and just to be defeated again? He's been busy.
But yeah, it's Doctor Who. You have to every fucking week on Doctor Who, they retcon something, So it's something I'm less annoyed by these days, but it is just, they have to do this because they have to create a big coincidence like this to push forward the plot. So, if retcons can happen, it's a fine retcon. I don't think Moffat does everything he could possibly do with the retcon. I don't think he takes it in every interesting direction he possibly could have, but it's not a bad concept.
Yeah. I think in this episode as well, as we're about to see very shortly, he gets a bit distracted from the main idea during this episode when he reintroduces Missy and Clara and things like that. They kind of take over from the main part of the script for quite some time. But before we get there, Snake Man visits Davros to be like, yo, can't find the Doctor, pal. And the guys, and then Davros likes, well, fucking just go after his mates. That's what when I took over the Earth, I captured all his mates, and then he blew me up or something. But it's okay because I'm here.
Davros and the Master have the same trait of dying all the fucking time.
They respawn. They can respawn. They're allowed to respawn.
But this scene opens up with Davros looking at the sonic screwdriver, and from that we're supposed to get the impression that the Doctor just fucking abandoned him, and for that, As because of his scars and all his disabilities, the Doctor fucking abandoned him, which we'll get into Davros and the whole disability debate next week, I feel like. That iconic scene where the Doctor drags him out of the fucking wheelchair and fucking leaves him on the floor. That's gonna be a discussion.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. Personally, I'm all for it. Right. We then cut from there to stuff I don't like. We get Clara in the classroom chastising one of the kids in her class for having chewing gum. There's some comedy where the kid is like, can I get it at the end of the day? Which is whatever. I really dislike... I like Clara, and I've come to like Clara a lot more as we've been removed from her era. But every now and then I'm reminded of why I didn't like Clara when it was on, and it was stuff like this. The stuff with her. I don't think she makes a very believable teacher. No. As a character, they never really explore it fully or go anywhere into it. Remember when they had the whole... When she's first introduced and she doesn't know what Wi-Fi is? She doesn't know how, how's this person a teacher? But they, it's whatever. Danny Pink was last series, wasn't he? Yeah. So we don't have to worry about him. But every time I see Clara in a school, all I think about is Danny Pink, and that is a genuinely horrific storyline. That storyline does not go anywhere. and just sort of ends.
It's
remember when they had the episode with Danny Pink's ancestor that looked exactly, or his future like grandchild that looked like Danny Pink, but then Danny Pink dies, so it makes no sense.
Oh yeah, Danny Pink was a character I did not like. It's been a while since I've watched Doctor Who from start to finish, so I'm curious if I ever go back to it. I probably will eventually. There's so much.
I'll be getting there soon. I'm on Matt Smith's last series, so I'll be getting to Danny Pink soon.
So little pieces of trivia. The Edgar Allan Poe, there's a portrait of Edgar Allan Poe in this fucking classroom, and that's obviously foreshadowing to Face the Raven, because the Raven nevermore, she dies because of the Raven. That's clever. That's clever.
Clever. That is.
Did you know Edgar Allan Poe has like a great grandson called Edgar Allan Poe the Fourth, who plays Edgar Allan Poe in media sometimes?
Interesting.
It's kind of cool. So his name is literally Edgar Allan Poe, and so he's in a lot of films as well. It's really interesting to see his credit pop up sometimes.
Well, it's a cool name to have. It's a cool ancestor to have.
And of course, we find out that Clara had a lesbian relationship with Jane Austen here. This is the whole reveal that Clara's bi, I guess, which they never go anywhere with.
Honestly, I completely missed that. That went over my head. Did not catch it. But Clara eventually notices that some planes in the sky don't seem to be flying. They seem to be stuck there. So she draws a little circle on the window for some reason, and then tells all the kids to turn on their phones, open up Twitter, and type in the hashtag "the planes have stopped," which, as we all know, is a banging hashtag and guaranteed to get people tweeting. This was Twitter was, I guess, kind of a relatively big thing. I think Moffat doesn't understand social media, he doesn't understand computers or how the internet works, which is interesting that he continues to try and write about them, because he falls into a much worse problem in his show Inside Man, or I think that's what it's called, with David Tennant, which I've talked about before in the podcast, but there's this really convoluted setup involving a Wi-Fi dongle that's actually a USB stick and characters not communicating to each other in a coherent or normal way. That's frustrating beyond belief to watch. And again, in Douglas's Cancelled, one of his more recent shows, that's all centers around a tweet that a person sends out and that gets retweeted. Interestingly enough, he actually handles social media much better on that one. I think that's a more realistic portrayal.
Maybe he had a consultant or something, yeah. But he is big boomer energy, and I guess he would have just recently found out what a hashtag is, because 2 years before this we have the 50th anniversary special, and the hashtag for that episode was Save the Day, and that went viral. So I think he just recently found out what a hashtag was. He's such a boomer.
I wouldn't be surprised by that fact. But, everybody starts tweeting, it goes on the news, and Clara ends up having to leave the school to go and help out Unit, putting on a snazzy jacket and riding her motorcycle across town to meet Kate Stewart.
A very attractive jacket, holy moly.
I get it, you want to fuck the jacket.
I'm sorry, Jenna Coleman is attractive.
She is a very pretty lady. She has big eyes.
Also the exposition through the newsreels here. That's a Russell T Davies trope. That's not a Moffat trope. It's just weird. There's a lot of Russell T Davies stuff in this episode. Like, this is also a sequel to The Stolen Earth, technically, as well. Yeah. Weird times.
Yeah. But they find out that they're trying to piece together what's caused these planes to stop, what could be the person behind it. They're like, maybe it's bombs, maybe it's an attack, maybe it's a message. They're trying to get in contact with the doctor, but he's not responding until eventually this device they have to message him starts buzzing off and like getting text through, and they're like, that can't be the Doctor, he does not text, I don't know who this could be. And then we get a pretty cool fucking intro to Missy that looks really super cool, where it's like, hey Missy, you so fine, you blow my mind, hey Missy. Which is fine enough, you know. It's a slightly dated song. When did that song come out?
That song came out in probably like 1981. Tony Basil, Hey Mickey. She was like 40 when she did that music video, and Tony Basil has like a huge career. She's like the choreographer for like a load of big artists like David Bowie and Bette Midler, David Bowie, Tina Turner, David Byrne from the Talking Heads, Davy Jones. She's a huge talent that a lot of people don't talk about because they've only know her from one music video where she's like 41 or something in that music video. It's incredible.
Wow.
Because you look at that music video and you think she's like a teenager or something.
And I don't have that big of a problem with it using like you know, it's kind of like Neil Patrick Harris coming out to whatever song he came out to in the 60th, you know. Yeah, you know, which isn't a very new song either, but it fits the tone. It's kind of cheeky and fun and whatever. Or like the Master dancing to Rasputin, you know, also a dated song.
Actually, I was going to say, or the Master dancing to the Scissor Sisters, but that was a recent song at the time.
But Missy's head also explodes out of the computer. And like that moment really took me out of the episode because I was like, what the fuck is the point of that?
It's to make a reference to the TV series Play School from the 1980s, where she says, "Oh, today I shall be talking to you out of this square window." That's a callback, you see.
Okay.
So this is a TV show called Play School, which had a series of windows inside of its set, and occasionally we would look through the window and we would see some BT, or is it called VT? Videos of stuff they did.
Right.
Is that called BTs or BTs? BTs.
I assume VTs.
Yeah, but this format was later used in the TV series Tinkerbella, which we are more familiar with. Just look up Tinkerbella CBeebies and you might recognize it. It's got like a little purple dragon dude.
Tinkerbella CBeebies. Okay, I vaguely recognize the little dragon dude.
Yeah, but they also had the same gimmick with the windows. I used to watch that shit all the time. It had Justin Fletcher, who went on to do what the fuck is Mr. Tumble? He's Mr. Tumble.
Yes, he is Mr. Tumble and Something Special.
Yeah, that guy has really
dude.
done. He seems great. You know, he was also in the Tweenies. Yeah. He was the voice of Jake. Like he's been working on CBeebies for like 20 odd years now. Good on him.
Guy is a kids entertainer. You know, he works. He's a really, really well respected and loved dude in the UK. I think, you know.
Which in the UK, when you have a child's entertainer who's been going on for decades like that. I
hope he's a good one. You know, he's done so much. You know, and he works for decades with people with like Down syndrome and stuff.
Yeah,
and
he seems like
he's
a
cool
good
guy.
Dude.
Like he seems like a really good dude. Yeah.
Something Special is heavily into teaching kids about sign language. That's fucking cool. Like I fucking as a kid, I fucking never knew what sign language was, and I never learned it. That's a valuable thing for kids to learn. Like holy shit.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Cool guy. But Missy's like, hey, you should set up a bunch of snipers to come and kill me. Because it's the only way you're going to feel safe enough to come and talk to me in where I am. Which is some solid logic. I quite like it. It's a fun setup to be like, you know, like if you want to chat with me, like I'm going to make sure that you feel safe. So like, you know, just set up a bunch of guns. I feel like they undermine it in the next scene when Missy just starts killing people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, so the guns really aren't, like, you have no power, like, you know.
In the next scene where unit soldiers let normal civilians walk by this highly dangerous lady.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's Missy stuff where the tone is so inconsistent.
Weird.
Which
is strange. Like,
in a scene where her head pops out of the computer, the music is all dubstep and it's all
mental.
Comedic.
It's legit. Like, the music is kind of like, damn, this is going hard.
and when her head pops out, there's a giant boing sound effect.
Yeah.
And it's like, did Murray Gold just like invest in like the Looney Tunes soundtrack or something?
It's so weird. Like, I think it just suffers from each episode having, like, being a two-parter for this. Like, the pacing gets really weird because, like, you establish such a dramatic, serious tone at the start of this episode and then go into all this wacky, dumb shit that doesn't connect with what you just saw, and so it feels so out of place. And I'm just not a fan of this stuff. Get me back to Davros, get me back with Capaldi, get them chatting. That's all I want, you know?
Yeah, so Stephen Moffat talked about how he wanted to make the two-parters because he wanted to create a feeling of atmosphere that doesn't generally happen in a 45-minute episode because you have to rush through everything. So that's understandable. So what he says here is, I mean, the first episode of The Ark in Space from 1975 is one of the best episodes ever. There are no guest actors, it's just the three of them wandering around a space station with a plot not actually starting until part 2. It's glorious. And the same thing is happening here. The plot of this episode doesn't actually start until like half an hour in, you know? Like, that's when the Doctor gets transported to Skaro. That's when the plot starts to kick in. So you're just spending half an hour just building atmosphere, I guess.
With the characters. You're just exploring the characters, you know? But I guess the tone of it doesn't quite gel with me.
No, same here. The tone of the guy looking for the Doctor works with me. That's a great atmosphere building moment. But the whole Clara and Missy stuff just kills every bit of tension and atmosphere and intrigue in the story. It's just, I don't know, it's really weird.
Yeah, which is interesting because I remember when I first watched this when I was 15, fucking loving it. I was so into Missy when this came out, you know, like I was just like, fucking, she's so cool. It's such a cool version of the Master. It's my favorite version of the Master. Like, I fucking love Missy so much. And when she came back and she was just killing people, I was like, fuck, she's awesome. She's so good. But, you know, watching it now, it doesn't quite hit as hard for me like as it did back then. But, you know, that's just because I'm weary and cynical now.
No, I think it's definitely is the weary and cynical nature of life, you know, because when I watched this, I was 17, right? And, you know, I was in my cynical phase of Doctor Who of being like, oh, the classic series was so much better. There was no cringe dialogue or cringe comedy like this. You know, it is. Sorry, I don't like to use the word cringe. I find the word cringe to be cringe. But seeing Missy's head pop out of a computer is fucking cringe. Like, it's fucking awful. And I have conflicting feelings about Missy in the first 2 series she's in. Series 10, she is mostly spot on. She is really good. God, and I love where they take the character of Missy. But here, it's just quirky for the sake of being quirky. I feel like it doesn't fit the tone of the overall episode.
Which was that to be fair though, that was kind of the style of 2015. You know, like quirky weird was in. That was, you know, lol so random was just a few years before. That was the peak of culture.
It's insane to me how old this episode is. You know, somebody who was
almost 10 years old.
Somebody who was 6 years old or 7 years old when they first watched this episode is now able to vote. That's insane to me.
Jesus, like, that is crazy.
Just time flies, man.
Yeah, I know, that's wild. That is wild. God damn. Just getting older. But so the episode continues on with the meeting of the minds with Clara and Missy sitting down at a lovely cafe in Italy.
Wow, that rhymes.
Yeah, it does. It does. This scene I remembered loving when I first watched it. I absolutely adored this scene. I thought it was superb. I thought the drama was there. I loved Missy's performance, as I spoke about just a few moments ago. Rewatching it, it feels kind of flat. It feels very long. It goes on for a really long time. And I think it establishes some great things in it. I think there's some really good moments, specifically Missy talking about her relationship with the Doctor.
Yeah.
And how they have a friendship more complicated and nuanced and higher than any sort of relationship that Clara, with her feeble human mind, could ever really comprehend, because Time Lords are superior beings, of course, which I really, really enjoyed. I really, really liked that sort of stuff. And this viewpoint of, like, you know, at this point the Time Lords and the Doctor and stuff, like, they're gods. They're basically gods. And you know, that viewpoint of these two gods that kind of hate each other, but they kind of love each other, and they have this, like, you know, they eternally long friendship since child. Like, the Doctor Master relationship, I think, is one of the most interesting aspects of Doctor Who when they bother to explore it, which is why I think I read like Missy's character so much, because it's the one Master where they really dove in to, you know, what is your relationship with the Doctor, and, you know, trying to almost repair that bridge, culminating amazingly obviously in series 10. You know, do you think I would care for you so little that betraying me would make any difference? Excellent stuff.
It reminds me of the scene in The Sea Devils where, you know, the Doctor's visiting the Master in prison, and the Doctor starts believing that the Master has turned good. You know, the Master is a good guy now, and he's so hesitant to shake the Master's hand after their little meeting. And it's, the Doctor and Master relationship, whenever they explore it, even in the tiniest little ways, is extremely good. You know, it's the same thing with the Master and the Doctor and Davros. Every time they interact, it's just fucking fire. You know, whether it's in Genesis of the Daleks or the scene in Remembrance of the Daleks, and every time the Doctor and Davros meet, it's just like one scene, which is why this episode is kind of conceived around the idea of the Doctor and Davros being stuck into one room and just talking for most of the second part, I would say.
It's very good.
But there is, again, some kind of cringe stuff with Missy here, but it's not too bad here. Michelle Gomez is consistently amazing as Missy. She is just phenomenal, and a lot of people pointed this out on Twitter, but she gives Agatha Harkness in the MCU. They both have similar kind of energy, you know, in their character portrayal. Because when I watched this a month ago, believing that we would actually film it a month ago, that was when Agatha All Along first came out, and I watched basically Agatha All Along, the premiere episode, and this back to back, and I just could not stop seeing the similarities between the two actors and how they portray their different characters, especially since fucking the next episode title implies that she's a witch. Missy is a witch. So it's interesting. They're both witches.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can see the connection. I haven't watched Agatha All Along. I'm kind of tired of MCU TV shows.
I don't blame you. I've only watched the first 2 episodes because life got really insane for me, but first 2 episodes are really solid, and apparently it gets even better, so I'll probably watch it on Halloween night, to be honest. I'll probably binge the whole series.
I really doubt I'm gonna ever watch it. Maybe I'll come round to it at some point when it finishes, if it becomes really important for a future film or something. But it's really low on my list. Just I think the next Marvel show I'm gonna watch is Daredevil, and I'm just gonna hold out until then, really, because I'm just they're so shit most of the time. The shows are so bad.
I am burned out with the MCU as well, and Star Wars as well. Just both of them, not being great recently.
Yeah.
Just what the fuck happened. So in this scene, Missy obviously talks to Clara about the Doctor and all that. And she says that she has cared for the Doctor since the Cloister Wars, since the night he stole the moon and the President's wife, since he was a little girl. And she says one of those was a lie. And can you guess which one it was the lie? In the series final, in Hellbent, I want to say? Hellbent, the series final, yes. Hellbent, we find out that the thing about stealing the moon and the President's wife was a lie put forward by the Shabogans. He actually lost the moon and stole the President's daughter instead. And some fan theories actually think that Missy might have been the President's daughter. So the theory is that he stole Missy. You know, as that kind of fan theory I kind of subscribe to, because the whole history of the Master and the Doctor is so vague, which I love. You know, Missy says it herself in this episode. Our history is so much more complex than you can ever imagine. So that's a fan theory that's pretty decent, honestly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I kind of like it. I like it. What I don't like is when, you know, Clara's slightly confused as to why Missy is coming to them with this information about finding the Doctor and trying to help out. She's like, oh, are you a good guy now? And so Missy, to prove this point, just starts shooting random people, and she's like, no, I've not turned good. Excellent performance from Michelle Gomez here, where, you know, she heightens the Scottish accent when she gets angry, which, you know, as a Scot I appreciate. And, you know, you're a Scot in two senses, so that's cool.
My parents were really creative when they named me.
And, you know, eventually they start trying to figure out, like, Missy threatens a bunch of guards, and it's whatever. I don't really buy into the tension. I don't super like.
No.
It's fine. It's whatever. It just feels really lackluster and kind of like some bad planning on behalf of UNIT to just let their guys die like this.
We're just going to casually stand around here, remove the weapons on Missy, and just stand here with our arms folded.
Why isn't everybody a sniper? Away, you know, like they have no real reason of actually being there. But whatever, I guess, doesn't matter. But they have a device that can search through time.
I don't understand it. And also, going back a little bit. You know, UNIT, the idea of UNIT is we solve alien mysteries every fucking week when the Doctor isn't there to protect the Earth.
Yeah.
You know, they're in charge of all the power. They're in charge of all the stuff going on with all the aliens, and they really need the Doctor because a plane's being frozen in the air. That's the only reason they need the Doctor. I think that's weird. They probably, presumably, faced off against worse threats and stuff.
My assumption is this: every single problem that happens, UNIT's first reaction is, let's call the Doctor. Let's see if we can get him in. Let's, and that's why he's ignoring them. This is, like this is the millionth call they've had this week. They're like, fuck off, do it yourself. You know, where UNIT's like, okay, we will solve this problem, but first, let's see if we can just get the Doctor in to do it. You know,
UNIT.
That's
UNIT is
policy.
Such a weird organization. I still don't fucking understand what they are.
They're whatever you need them to be, you know. But yeah, they have this weird device that can look for anomalies through time or something, which kind of feels really powerful to have. But Clara's smart enough to figure out that they shouldn't be looking for like big disaster events. They need to be looking for a big event that isn't linked to a disaster, which there is only one, and it is happening in Essex. And Missy's like, awesome, you figured it out. She slaps a vortex manipulator on, because remember, it's Doctor Who, to Clara, and they teleport to whenever the fuck the year is into Essex, atop a castle wall, where it leads to a very funny introduction. I thought I quite liked it. When Missy's like, hey, we've got to find the Doctor here. It's probably going to be hard, but we've got to look for tiny little changes, tiny little inconsistencies. And you hear the electric guitar start playing. And it's like, for fuck's sake,
Yeah, so as I said, I was a fucking edgy teenager when this came out. And I was like, oh, Doctor Who needs to be 100% serious all the time. Why the fuck did I ever think that? Doctor Who is always
when has it ever been serious?
Like, oh fuck, I don't know what I was thinking. But again, I'm gonna use the word cringe. I think Peter Capaldi on that tank playing the guitar is slightly cringe.
I so disagree.
It doesn't come across as cool. It's trying too hard to be cool. Man. I think it's too cool for school.
I think you are just a hater. I think you're a hater bitch. And Capaldi entering a scene, coming through mist, riding atop a tank, shredding on electric guitar, wearing sunglasses. Instantly the coolest fucking thing I've ever described. That's it's just incredible. An incredible introduction. I wish I was on that tank. It's so rock and roll.
I'm more neutral on this than I used to be. I really used to fucking hate this. Now I'm just like, it's fine. It's whatever. It's fun seeing Peter Capaldi play the guitar because he was in a band in the 80s with Craig Ferguson, and he is currently a music artist, I guess. His second album comes out in March. Yeah. His first album was fine.
I might revisit it. I remember not really digging it when it came out, but maybe I'll sit down and actually give it a proper listen.
You can tell he was inspired by David Bowie, which gets referenced in here as well with all the doctors like, all the young, and then the crowd shouts dude. So there's definitely a Bowie inspiration in his whole vibe here, but it is not my cup of tea in terms of like rock music. It's too it doesn't have a hook. Really, his music, which is interesting.
Yeah, I really need to sit down and give it another listen. I was kind of put off from the weird David Bowie impression he was doing, but I have a growing nuanced taste in music at the minute, so I'm open to experimenting with genres so we'll see. But
hey, Peter Capaldi is an older man, just having fun, if it's therapeutic for him to write music, I don't begrudge that. He's having a good time. He seems like a decent dude. Like, there's no complaints about this man.
I wish everybody was able to have enough money that they can just explore whatever artistic endeavor they feel like exploring. I feel like that should be the dream goal for every single human being on the planet, and it's a tragedy that people aren't allowed to do that more often.
But Peter Capaldi, this is actually Peter Capaldi playing the guitar in the show as well, I believe. So he's a decent guitar player.
He's solid, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably go see him in a concert. I'd imagine he does a couple of covers. It's not his own music, and I imagine he's
David
very
Bowie songs.
I imagine he's very funny. He does very funny banter, I imagine, between his songs as well. So I would go see him. I would make the effort to go see him.
And he's Scottish, so keep an eye out for when this new album of his comes out, because maybe he'll go on tour to promote it.
Yeah, and of course he is related to Lewis Capaldi, which is a guy I've never been into. I don't like Lewis Capaldi's music.
I I'm not a huge fan of Lewis Capaldi's music either. I find it slightly too depressing to sit and want to listen to. It's a lot of sad songs on
it's
it. But,
it's depressing to the point where I can't stop imagining like teenage girls crying in their beds listening to Lewis Capaldi.
Yeah, it's not the vibe I tend to lean towards, but I as a personality, I think Lewis Capaldi can be very charming.
Yeah, Lewis Capaldi is really funny.
Yeah, he's a big personality for sure, but his music's not super for me. But obviously, like, one of his big rises to fame was when Peter Capaldi starred in that music video for him, which was a tragic music video. My God.
I do not remember the music video. I just remember Peter Capaldi being in it. I don't want to watch the music video right now at this point of my life.
it's real sad. It is real sad. But back to the episode here. Capaldi does some crowd work, and it's very reminiscent of, which I kind of like pantomime. Like he's working with the crowd, he's getting them to cheer, to boo, to hiss, he's telling them a story. It's very big and grand, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. Immediately, he spots Clara and Missy atop the castle wall, staring down at him. Which he leads them to introducing them into the crowd later on. He has some back and forth banter with this Viking, this like dude with an axe.
Yeah,
his
name
mate.
Is Boar.
Yeah,
he looks like Paul Walter Hauser, like the British version of Paul Walter Hauser.
And they have some back and forth, but eventually he calls Clara out onto the stage, where we get some subtle foreshadowing of Clara's death later in the series, where she's like, "Who's dying? You or me?" Which, I never caught when I first saw this. At 15, I wasn't expecting Clara to die, and it caught me totally off guard, especially because it happened so suddenly, her death. I thought it's, we've talked about it a million times. I think it's really well handled and then undermined massively by the resolution.
I think we need to go into that trilogy sometime soon. I think that's our next Peter Capaldi, because I'm very curious. It's a loose trilogy, Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, and Hellbent. Not really a trilogy,
Heaven Sent by far the best one. Though.
Amazing! It's the Empire Strikes Back. It's like the best movie of a trilogy there.
It's so good. But he gives Clara a hug. Which is a very fun moment where he's like, it's a great thing about hugs is we can hide our faces. Well, hey, and he does this weird eye movement after he says that, which to me was like, oh, it feels like a Tom Baker face, Tom Baker's with his weird big face.
But it's interesting because with the Doctor, Clara, and Missy throughout these 3 seasons, where all the character arc is all eventually becoming like the Doctor in a way, because Peter Capaldi at first was like a grumpy, dumpy lasagna man.
Am I a good man?
Yeah.
And then he kill yourself, robot. Jump out the fucking building, guy.
And then he fucking eventually learns how to be the Doctor again. And then Missy's storyline is she fucking wants to be like the Doctor, and that's her eventual demise at the end of whatever the series 10 episode is called. And then Clara's storyline is she wants to become the Doctor, and then she dies.
That gets her killed,
Everybody basically wants to become the Doctor here.
Yeah, and it kills them all.
So the moral of the day: just don't be a good guy. Just
don't be a good person.
Watch TV, I guess.
But the reunion is quickly cut short. Eventually, Missy comes in and she gets like some boos and hisses and things like that. But the reunion is quickly cut short by Snake Man, who has also time travel. So don't worry about that bit. He's just there. I guess it's fine. You have to accept a slight leap in logic, or I guess maybe the stuff when he was traveling around space. This was the current year on Earth, and he hasn't time traveled. He's just from this
Don't
timeline.
overthink it.
Uh,
He has access to that time machine. That's fine.
How does time work? What?
and fucking the Doctor creates acronyms all the fucking time, and they just happen to pick up on that one particular acronym of the Doctor on a time.
Don't worry about it. Everything happens in a linear fashion. You know, it's fine. But the Snake Guy is like, hey, Doctor, you're to come see Davros because Davros remembers what you did. And he throws the sonic screwdriver to the Doctor's feet. To which, you know, the Doctor's like, hey, I don't have a sonic screwdriver anymore, Clara. So I've done something bad, by the way. I've been bad.
And Missy has a really strange line of dialogue where she's like, oh, that's not like you, the Doctor. You always have a sonic screwdriver. The Doctor lost the sonic screwdriver when he was the 5th Doctor, and he didn't regain the screwdriver again until many years later, like the 6th, 7th, and did the 8th Doctor have a sonic screwdriver? I can't remember, but she's at least met the Doctor multiple times without a sonic screwdriver, so it's a very weird line of dialogue.
Yeah, I guess she's just, you know, for the modern Who audience. You know, because in Modern Who, the sonic screwdriver is so prominent throughout the series. You know, like it is literally the magic wand. So taking away the magic wand, just be like, oh, that's new. You know, you suddenly don't have this big stick to run around. It looks like a gun.
That's why he's a magician. It's a magic wand. The title is so weird for a Dalek two-parter. You know, the Sorcerer's Apprentice and the
Magicians Apprentice. That's the Nicolas Cage movie.
No, it is.
It's the Magician's Apprentice.
Okay, it's the Magician's Apprentice. Okay, yeah, Same
Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's the movie with Nick Cage.
It's also the fucking movie where Mickey Mouse fucking.
But they did the live action one with. Yeah. They did the live action one with Nicolas Cage and Jay Baruchel.
It's a good thing that Disney have stopped for live action remakes. You know, no, they're still doing them. I think Lilo and Stitch is the next one. I'm not looking forward to that one. Why? Fucking Disney just fucking.
Oh no, the Lilo and Stitch one, I kind of understand why they're doing it though, because the past like 3-4 years, Lilo and Stitch has exploded in popularity.
Oh, you are completely right there. I have a 6-year-old niece who's obsessed with Lilo and Stitch. Like, holy shit, my God. She just loves it.
Like you go out to like Primark or something, the Stitch is fucking everywhere.
Yeah,
he is all over. Like my mum has become obsessed with Lilo and Stitch the past. Like I can't. It's just like fucking sudden like a mind fucking worm in everybody. Is like, no, you love Lilo and Stitch. You will see the movie. Like,
my 6-year-old niece loves Lilo and Stitch almost as much as I loved Lilo and Stitch as a 6. Probably more than I was a 6-year-old actually.
Yeah.
And I grew up with the original movie and the cartoon. Did you know there's an anime series? There's 2 anime series. One released in Japan, one released in China. Lilo and Stitch has a really long lifeline.
Exactly. It's so popular. So it's the one live action where I'm like, I get why you're doing this because this is gonna make you so much money. You know, I hate that you're doing it because it's the live action stuff is dog shit, but it makes sense from a business standpoint.
Are you looking forward to Mufasa, The Lion King 2?
Oh boy, am I?
It's out in December. Can't wait.
I haven't seen the first one, so
the first one I'll be confused. I'll probably see the new one with my mom, so that'll be fun.
I'm not gonna see it for sure. The original Lion King, you can't really improve upon.
Fucking iconic, so good.
You know, it is perfection, and I don't understand why removing color from it seems like the
removing all fucking emotion from it.
Yeah,
just focusing on these fucking lions that cannot emote. Like, you can get more emotion out of the Kingdom Hearts 2 cutscenes. Those cutscenes are fucking awful.
Well, yeah. Back to the episode, we get the Doctor decides like, okay, I'm ready to face the Davros I accept the consequences for this. And, you know, he's like, okay, you can just arrest me with your snake guy. Clara and...
The doctor says Davros is my arch enemy, and Missy is like, "Oh, Davros is your arch enemy now." It reminds me of I've not seen this movie, Lego Batman, where
great movie.
the scene with Batman and Joker, where Joker starts crying because
it's the Joker's entire motivation in that movie is the fact that Batman won't admit that he's his arch enemy. It's such a good movie. It's so much fun. Honestly worth a watch. It's probably the best Lego movie. It's so funny, man.
That movie also has fucking Daleks in it, so
it does.
It goes full circle.
Yeah. No, Lego Batman's
is it
so
canon?
funny.
I think it's canon.
Probably everything's canon. But Clara and Missy decide they're going to go along with the doctor, and the snake guy's okay with this because they vote on it, and the snake is like he's like a million snakes in one guy, and it's like they're a democracy.
Was the snake guy who made Unit a million snakes, or was he just one?
No,
snake?
he was a guy that had an invisible snake that lived in his back, and that snake would come out and kill people for him.
Is the snake an extension of himself, or?
I think it's like a symbiotic relationship.
Okay, so kind of like Venom.
Kind of, but like I think like they evolved that way. So like they evolved with like it's not like this thing latched onto him. It's like this is just what his species are like. They just are two species intertwined with one another. But yeah, really, you need to ask Chibnall about the extensive lore behind the Snake Man.
It feels like it was almost meant to be like a 12-part series. Like he just ran out of room trying to condense it down to 6 parts. 6 parts.
When they keep introducing new plot points by episode 5, you kind of start getting a little bit worried that things aren't going to get wrapped up. But
remember when the doctor met her mum, and then her mum died, and then she felt no emotion about it, and she never talked about it again, and that was cool.
Trust me, I remember it well. I've seen it many times. But they decide to head off with the doctor, and we get one last scene here in the past as we find out that the doctor's best mate, the guy with the big axe, he was actually a Dalek droid guy all along, and they captured the TARDIS. They steal the TARDIS.
Not all along, because in Doctor Who magazine, some viewers wrote in and said, hey, this plotline is really confusing. Why would this guy just hang out with the doctor for 3 weeks and not tell Davros where the doctor is? Moffat basically clarifies, saying when he got bit by the snake in this episode, like 5 minutes ago, that's when he turned into a Dalek operative.
That leads that gives me some more questions.
Okay.
Largely, how does Dalek operatives work then?
I don't know, but I guess the snake has some kind of venom. Speaking of venom again, full of microchips and nanogenes or whatever you fucking want to call it, that turn the guy into the Dalek. But apparently he's okay. I think he comes back. I'm not sure, but he's okay in the end. He survives, I think. So
weird. All right. So we entered the last stretch of this episode with everybody sitting in a jail cell, and they're kind of just farting about, waiting until Snake Man comes to get the doctor to take him to Davros.
Yeah, they basically travel there through a Star Wars vehicle, basically. It's very Star Warsy with all the stars flying towards them, and I could imagine this was a thing because if you go back to when Moffat was writing this, it's December 2014, and what dropped in December 2014? The fucking Star Wars Force Awakens trailer, the biggest trailer release at its time. Like, the hype around this was fucking massive. Like, we're probably talking to like 16-year-olds who were 6 years old when this trailer dropped. Like, it was the biggest thing since Sliced Jesus Wait, what? No, wait. No, well, I meant to. Okay, sliced bread, or the biggest thing since Jesus. I meant to say. I combined the two of them. It was big.
I remember the trailer for Force Awakens coming out for sure, and I got excited for it. I was very, very into Star Wars at the time. I mean, I'm still into Star Wars, but I was very into Star Wars as a teenager, and got super excited by it. Kind of wish Disney didn't rush to pump out a movie straight away and maybe instead plan some stuff, but money talks, and that movie made money.
Disney definitely haven't learned their lesson. Just like 2 days ago, they announced that the writer for the Rey movie, the Jedi New Order movie, just dropped out, and that was supposed to be like a 2026 release. Now it's just in flux.
It's like the 7th or 8th Star Wars project that has been dropped or cancelled or lost its writer.
Yeah,
or director or people involved with it. Like the Star Wars is in a weird, messy spot with them right now.
It's not looking great. We're not even talking about the TV side of things, where things are even worse. Like that Acolyte show just came out, and people didn't like it, and they got really weird backlash. Star Wars has always had really weird backlash. With
Star Wars fans
Disney.
are the worst.
Because if you remember, when that Force Awakens trailer came out, the big controversy at the time was a fucking black stormtrooper. Oh my god, this is the worst thing they could have done.
Like, saying Star Wars fans are the worst, I think, is kind of reductive. Terminally online Star Wars fans are the worst. There's a certain sect of Star Wars fan that thinks it's the most serious fucking thing in the world, and it usually is racist and sexist with it, so that's pretty cool.
Same with Doctor Who, and same with Marvel, and same
with any fucking thing. There's a reason why comic book guy exists in The Simpsons.
Yes.
And The Simpsons has been around longer than the MCU. Simpsons has been around fucking, Star Wars 77, Simpsons is what, 89? As long as there has been something for someone to be a fan of, someone takes it too far.
Talking Simpsons just did a new review of the Itchy and Scratchy and Poochie episode, and one of the clips to be used in the episode was a comic guy saying, "Oh, this is the worst episode ever. I'm just going to go on the internet and register my disgust." That's us. That's us registering our disgust with Doctor Who. We're toxic Doctor Who fans, but not in a sexist or racist way. We're kind of just people who complain about the writing in a normal way. We're not sending death threats to Stephen Moffat or anything. We're just we're critiques, but.
Yeah, and also I think we're more often than not quite positive, and we delve into specifics about like writing and structure and pacing, and we don't just say it's bad because woman. But anyway, the Doctor gets shipped off to go and speak with Davros while Clara and Missy stay in the cell. The scene, let's talk about the scene with Capaldi and Davros, because it's the first scene that comes up, really, that's worth talking about. Phenomenal scene. It's such a fucking incredible way to kind of cap off this episode. I think the cliffhanger maybe drops it a little bit, but this scene in particular with just Capaldi and Davros chatting. Cinema. Fucking give me this all the time, and I would be the happiest man alive.
This honestly should have been the entire. It should have been just a one-parter, 45 minutes of the Doctor and Davros around a table, just discussing their life and philosophy and all that kind of madness. And just the juiciness of that content is just interrupted too many times with Missy trying to be funny in the next episode. We'll obviously get there next week, but just the idea of them both having a conversation, and in this episode they're both coming to it from different points of views, right? The Doctor is feeling guilty because he believes, well, actually not quite yet, but the whole point is the Doctor's feeling guilty because he believes he abandoned a wee boy in a minefield, basically. And he's feeling guilty about that because that's not a thing he does. And then Davros's point of view is, oh, you saved me, Doctor. Your compassion is your weakness. And we're both having this conversation, and we're just on different pages because obviously the Doctor doesn't know he saved Davros yet. And that's really fascinating shit. And again, it just gets interrupted with Missy trying to be funny. We'll get to that next week.
Yeah. But for now, instead, Davros is watching old clips of Doctor Who.
What a fucking sad loser. Could you imagine just sitting around every week and just watching classic clips of Doctor Who and discussing
Sounds like a nightmare.
Sounds like a nightmare.
Fucking
sad life.
But he, plays some clips from episodes that we have already covered. And weirdly, he also stole the thumbnail that I made for... the episode with Tom Baker, the Asylum of the Daleks episode with the it's not Asylum of the Daleks, but the one where he's looking at the two cables.
I mean, that is like one of the most iconic Doctor Who.
I know. It's like the shot, That's why I made it the thumbnail. It's fun. It's always...
Somebody should go into the master edit of the BBC iPlayer version and
stick in
Photoshop of Davros giving birth to the Daleks, because that was the episode 1 thumbnail of a Dalek literally coming out of Davros's legs.
How else did he birth them? When they show clips of Classic Who, I'm always in two minds about it, because I like it because it's like, oh, you're connecting it to the original show. It's a bit of fun, but there's always this little bit in my brain that's like, but how does that work? How did you get that shot of
CCTV?
It's
cameras everywhere.
There's just all the time.
It's a problem with every fucking movie and TV show, not even sci-fi in general. There's always somebody who opens up some footage and it's just a clip from a previous episode or something.
Yeah, it's like, how did you get this recording? This was just, you just lived this. What are you talking about?
Like somebody opens up a camera of like something that happened like a season ago, and it's just well shot, edited clips of something that happened. And it's like, how the fuck did that happen? Okay.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. It's a common trope. And also, just a reminder of classic Doctor Who is always weird in modern Doctor Who, because they are completely different shows, and it's weird to be reminded that they are indeed the same show with the same continuity.
Okay, I like it. But yeah, no, I really like this scene. What I like as well is everything kind of slows down for a bit.
Yeah,
the conversation becomes really like quiet. And it's just they're talking in very like low tones and very subtly, and it sucks you in, And speaking of getting sucked in, we then go to Clara and Missy, who Missy is like, hey, the gravity here is weird. It doesn't feel like we're on a space station. It feels like we're on a planet. This is really good gravity. It doesn't feel artificial. And so she goes over to the quote-unquote airlock, and she's like, well, Clara, I'm probably about to kill you, but we're going to find out, as she opens the airlock, and lo and behold, they don't get sucked out as much as, they might have wanted to. And then they step out into the space, which still looks like space, and it leads to this really interesting visual of people standing and walking in space. And then weirdly, like across the horizon, they see David Tennant, and he's busy being like, I lost my friend Donna. Like, what the fuck?
Why is it lit so differently when we are lit? Why does does it look like PS2?
Why does it look? Why does it look worse over there? But yeah, that's all that was going through my head is how much better this looks than what we got.
A really cool reveal of
yes.
Eventually,
Scarrow
appearing in front of him. That's a really cool reveal, and it surprised me when I first watched this because famously, Scarrow was supposedly destroyed at the end of Remembrance of the Daleks, but also that was a fake Scarrow according to some Doctor Who sources. Or
it's Doctor Who. Nothing ever dies. Nothing's ever destroyed. Everything's coming back when you need it to come back. You know, there's not really consequences for anything.
And also, I guess Sutek is also in this episode. And
he's in every episode. He loves it. But you know, they're like, holy shit, we're on Scarrow, and Capaldi makes the same like recollection at the same time, which is interesting. Don't fully understand how.
He just looks out the window, I guess.
Yeah, no, but like Missy makes the point of saying like the only way that they end up seeing Scarrow is because when they're outside breathing in the air and the climate, like they adjust to match the like camouflage or whatever hiding Scarrow. So how could Capaldi see it if he's still inside the building?
Magic, a wizard to do it.
A wizard, yeah. Yeah, I hope somebody got fired for that. But you know, they're like, holy shit, this is the planet of the Daleks. They're like, fuck it, a Dalek rocks up and is like, you're absolutely correct, it is. Welcome to Dalek City, baby. And takes them prisoner. Here, I think things get kind of weird and it's strange. Like, you know, I don't believe the stakes that they're setting up here with Missy, you know, taunting the Daleks and eventually getting shot, and, you know, the build up to, like, I like, to be fair, I do like the way that Davros builds up the Daleks wanting to kill Clara, where he's like, you know, you can feel it, can't you? They want her to run. They want it's in their blood, you know.
Scene.
Which I just don't believe that any of these characters are dying. You know,
yeah, that's the problem with Doctor Who. We've seen, the first time, actually not the first time, but when we see the Daleks at the end of series 1, when Rose gets shot, you believe it because nobody has been murdered on screen before. You're just like, holy shit, is Rose actually dead? And by now, in series 9, we've seen like 100 fake deaths that have been reversed. So death, especially if it's a recurring character like Missy and Clara. Like, Missy is going to fucking escape it in the first place. Clara has been contracted for the rest of the season, so it's just not believable, you know?
It's one of the reasons why I kind of wish they didn't retcon the Clara death thing to make her kind of live afterwards, because death suddenly having a consequence hits like a ton of bricks, where you're like, oh my fuck, no way. And then it's like, but actually, she's traveling through time. And like, oh, fucking, it doesn't feel as good anymore.
But this is a fucking thing that's been done in classic Doctor Who. Like, Perry was apparently shot off. You know, she was murdered at the end of, or in the middle of, Trial of the Time Lord. But all of a sudden, oh no, she just went off to marry this person. It's fine. She's alive. It's fine. She just seems like she died, and then she lived off screen, and she's never talked about again. Fucking bizarre shit. But the Dalek City itself, the Daleks come from different sources. Some of the older ones were fan-made, some were from the Doctor Who experience. Remember when we were in actual country and had a Doctor Who experience? I wish I could have gone. Holy shit. So one of the fans, Tom Nicholas, loaned his 3 Daleks and even got to play a Dalek in one of the shots, because there was apparently just one man down. So, hey, you want to just jump into this Dalek? That's fun. So Capaldi was a huge fanboy about this set. He described the set as reminding him of the Peter Cushing movies, just without the lava lamps. And Capaldi was just so happy to be on set with all these Daleks. He's a lifelong Doctor Who fan. It's probably a dream job, but also stressful at the same time, I imagine. right?
Sure. Yeah, but it would have been cool as fuck. Would have been cool as fuck. Living the dream.
This is very inspired by the original Dalek City in 1963. Michael Pickwood made it an expanded version of Raymond Cusack's original 1963 design, and Capaldi is even wearing plaid trousers in this episode as a tribute to William Hartnell. So that's something I did not pick up on myself. I did not remember it until I just read it.
Yeah, I noticed his trousers. I didn't recognize it as a tribute to William Hartnell. That's kind of a nice detail. But I did notice his trousers. I was like,
but it's always fun when Doctor Who goes back to its 1960s route and goes, hey, we're just going to do it as we did in the 1960s, but on a bigger scale.
Yeah, and I appreciate when they keep the kind of aesthetic and vibes, because the retro futurism stuff that is present, which was just futurism in the 60s, but now it's retro futurism. But, like it is such a vibe. I love it so much. There's something about 1960s sci-fi that just hits different than other stuff. So when you translate that into a more modern style, it goes hard.
It's one of my favorite things of Star Wars Rebels, which is set before Episode 4. So they go, the designs are all about, they're like, oh, this is set in 1975, so there's people with mutton chops and shit like that. I love it. I haven't finished Star Wars Rebels, but I love little details like that. It
gets really dark. I watched all of Rebels by like season 3, which is the final season. I think it's like fucking. This is a really mature story suddenly, compared to like season 1 where it's like let's steal some fruit.
Yeah,
hey,
my issue with the first 2 seasons or 3 seasons were it was too childlike compared to the Clone Wars. I just missed the Clone Wars so much because the Clone Wars had a more
so goddamn good.
The Clone Wars had a more overarching story arc, whereas Rebels was more episodic and lighthearted, which I wasn't into.
They realized when they were making the Clone Wars, though, that they had captured a more mature audience. So they started writing more mature stories for it. And then, Disney buys it, cancels Clone Wars, and once it rushes out a new Star Wars show on Disney XD, so it has to be aimed at kids again, And, but they made it work. It gets better. And the finale is pretty solid.
I think I'll eventually do all Star Wars, all the books, all the comics,
and
attempt to go from start to finish. It'll take a while, but I'll eventually do it.
That is a lot. But Clara ends up getting shot by the Daleks and vanishes like Missy does. And Capaldi's very angry about this. And then they blow up the TARDIS as well, which whenever they blow up the TARDIS, I just instantly don't believe it because it's never as destructive as it should be. And also it's the fucking TARDIS. You're not going to get rid of the TARDIS.
The only way, if you blow up the TARDIS, the only way I believe the TARDIS is gone forever is if you go 5 or 6 episodes without the TARDIS. If the Doctor...
It's like when Capaldi gets blinded.
Yeah.
And then he's just blind for like episodes after. Like when that happened, I was like, oh what the fuck? This is insane. This is like the biggest character thing to happen to the Doctor in so long.
When you do it over multiple episodes, as a viewer, I think in the back of my mind, I'd go, the TARDIS is definitely not destroyed. It will come back by the end of the season. I know that, but it makes it more believable.
You'll still find yourself getting like you want to see how it's going to come back, not just like it's going to come back, so who cares? But either way, we then flash back towards the Kid Davros standing in the mud field, who's shouting out for the Doctor who's abandoned him. But then, lo and behold, the Doctor's behind him. And he's like, oh, how did you get there? And the Doctor's like, don't worry about it. I'm going to blow your fucking head off, twerp. And he pulls out a gun. And he's like, exterminate this. And then we cut to the credits, which is I'm not super hot on the cliffhanger.
Yeah. Because you just don't believe a Doctor. Actually, you don't believe that a Doctor would go to this lengths, this extremes, but also he does eventually go through this extremes in the final episode of the season.
I know, but I'm instantly questioning how did the Doctor get there if they just blew up the TARDIS? You just showed the TARDIS getting destroyed. So how did the fucking Doctor time travel? You know, so you just undermined this thing you've already showed me.
Yeah, because he's doing it to save Clara and Missy. That's what he explicitly says. So it has to be after. Because in my head, I'm like, oh, this must be before, but it's not before.
Yeah, so, unless he's wearing a vortex manipulator. Maybe he grabbed one of those. I didn't spot it on his wrist. To be fair, he's in
I don't think we do
close-up.
see the TARDIS, so maybe it is a vortex manipulator.
I'm gonna see if I can see his wrist. Let's see. I don't see a vortex manipulator on him when he's holding up the gun, but to be fair, I can't really fully see his arm.
But then,
so it could be.
If it was the TARDIS, it would be right behind him. Presumably, it would be.
Maybe
visible,
it's fogged in the mist. You know.
Maybe.
Maybe they'll answer this next week. Maybe they answer this question. But that immediately in my head, I was like, "What the fuck? And how did he get there?"
And if anybody at home wants to find out the answer, find out next week. Listen to us next week.
Yes. But yeah, that is the end of the Magician's Apprentice. It's a decent setup, I think.
Yeah.
Meanders like fuck in the middle. I really only care about the opening and the ending scenes. The stuff in the middle, I'm like, fucking, you know, just get it over with, please. Get me to the good stuff. Give me that good stuff, baby. You know?
Yeah, maybe this could have been like a 65-minute episode instead of a 2-parter. Cut off like 25 minutes of the entire runtime of the 2 episodes combined, and I think you've got a really good 65-minute episode. But you have to cut off a lot of the messy stuff, so that's a lot of the plot that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, you would just have to completely restructure and write it because it's you know, written to come out this way. But yeah, we will be back next week with episode 2, which is not the Magician's Apprentice, but the Witch's Familiar.
Yeah.
So look forward to that. Be sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube at Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast where you can see us in video form, or subscribe to us on Spotify. As we said, we're also in video form there. Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast, or search in your podcast app of choice for Who Watches Who, and we should show up in audio form. We are all over the darn place. There's a ton of links in the description. You could subscribe to my gaming channel, Psychedelic Gaming Hobos, who have been putting out the best content I've ever seen in my life recently, and it's been going very well. You could also do a bunch of other stuff. It's getting very late, so my brain is melting. Just follow us. You know how things work. Fuck off. Just fuck off. How about that? Fuck off. Yeah.
Wow, you're so polite. You're so nice. That's a very professional way to end this episode.
You don't listen to this with professionalism. But we will see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.